Okay, what's going on, everybody? It's Lucci and Jesus here for your Saturday sweep webinars. I've been MIA here for a little bit, but we have a great topic for you guys here today. Some of the emotional issues that that you deal with on an intraday basis that kind of carry over to the next day and the day after that. And we kind of want to just talk about this on a mano kind of level here and not preach to you. So let's start off here. And again, I'm going to ask you guys just a shitload of questions. Again, just answer at your will here. How many of you guys are sick of hearing about the emotional issues of trading and about what you need to do in order to solve some of these problems here? Okay, I have to tell you that I'm sick of it. I am very sick of it simply because that it's similar to a father telling his daughter, pick up after yourself, or his son or whatever, pick up after yourself. And you got to do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over, right? You never fucking stop. You never stop, and you never stop having to tell yourself, hey, I got to do this, or hey, what's my emotional state at, or hey, what are the things I need to think about here before I make a trade, or what happened yesterday, I can't let it carry into today, and all that kind of stuff. How many of you guys are sick of hearing this shit? I am so sick of hearing this stuff. And one of the reasons why, like, Jesus has, I would say, doesn't have this issue as much as the rest of us, is the fact that he has his strategy. He has his strategy, has his system, does not go outside of that system. And it's so easy for all of the rest of us to jump outside of our current strategy, trade something else when we didn't plan to, try to make back losses aggressively because we don't like the feeling of having these losses. And I'm sure, Jesus, you feel like that as well, but you don't allow those emotions to push you outside of your strategy, correct?
But sometimes you talk about it like I've never had it. I mean,
Right.
it almost, I had too much of it, Lucci.
Yep.
That's why I had no choice. I had to get to here.
You had.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be around in the game. You could say I was worse than everybody else, in my opinion, where I would hop on any little move I seen thinking it was the big one.
Yep.
I mean, so
Yep. So
believe me, I was there and then some.
you had to go through some shit. I mean, you went through some shit, some losses, some stuff that you were just like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it this way or I can't do it at all, right? I mean,
Exactly.
how many years did it take you to get to that point? How many years did it
Oh,
take you to
I
get to
mean,
that point?
it's, it's not even about the years. When you equate every day, think about this, okay? Since roughly around 1997, every single day, okay? Since 1997,
Right.
I've been in front of a screen for every single market day,
Oh my God.
okay?
1997 every day. Are you serious, bro?
Yeah, so you got to, and not only that, on top of that, I was managing client money and had to deal with the client shit too when
Right.
I made the wrong decision, you know? So there was more than enough of a beating. The one thing I never got into was margin, thankfully, so I never really physically blew out accounts.
Okay.
But it got to the point emotionally that, yeah, it was too much. I had to make an adjustment for me to stay in this game and trade for myself. You know what I mean? For a living. I had to.
Okay. Okay. And to sit in front of, and Jim's got a great thing here for, and Jim, by the way, you're speaking for the rest of the crew here, because I know everybody else is thinking the exact same thing you are, because I am as well. So, Jesus sat in front of a computer here for what? That makes it, what, 20 years? That's almost 20 years of sitting there and having these emotions every single day and every single minute of every single waking freaking hour. Okay? Now, how much mental fortitude, okay, do you need to sit there for 20 years and do that, okay, and still be able to come up with strategies here today and still be able to make money? All right? Half of you guys haven't even traded for longer than 3 freaking years. All right? And you're expecting to make X, Y, and Z dollars. And we're going to talk about expectations too. Okay? So the first thing here we're going to talk about All right. First thing here we're going to talk about is simply, the business of overtrading. Some of the emotions that lead to overtrading. So let's take an example of a regular P&L kind of sheet. Let's say you make first day you make $500, second day you make $50, day 3 you make $3,000, and let's say 3,000, and let's say this is let's say this is a good 200% over your average best winning day. Okay. Now, what are the emotions that take place after you have this day right here? All right. What happens in your head after you have day 3 P&L? Right. That is way beyond what you're used to taking in on on an average good winter day. Right. You start thinking what? That, oh my God, now I can make this every single day, right? Now I can make good money every single day, right? Jim is saying you walk on water, euphoria. So what's going to happen the next day? Next day, guess what? Next day, day 4 comes around. Day 4, immediately your position size goes through the roof, okay? Your position size goes through the roof. And if the market's not there to give you those trades, guess what? Day 4 is usually going to be, ding, 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 your worst losing day as well. Okay, so chances are you're going to lose day 3 plus then some. Now, what happens as a result? What happens as a result? What happens at day 5? You're pissed off. You are pissed off more than ever because you had this money, now you don't. Okay, so position size continues to stay up, okay, continues to stay high, and what happens? You keep raping down these losses, all right? So day 6, you're going to take another, I don't know, you're going to take another minus 650 here to the face. Day 7 here is going to be the same thing, and you're going to take another $800 to the face, and this is what your P&L looks like, right? For no reason at all other than the fact that you decided to take on more size because you're the man now, and you don't have to worry about shit. So let's go ahead and take some more position size. Let's go ahead and fuck around here, and let's see if we can really make some. Okay? Now, this is just one of the many things that everybody has to go through, all right? And then I notice here with all the comments, Nate here, I'm going to use you as an example. Apologies here in advance. I have been going through that for the last month and have lost 20K. We got a bunch of other people here doing the same shit as well. Now, just because, and Nate, I'll use you as an example here, you are going through the same thing that everybody else is going through. This is a natural occurrence for every single trader, okay? It doesn't matter what level of trading that you are at, okay? And these emotions affect your decisions every single day and every single trade. Now, ask yourself, what are you doing to stop this from happening, okay? And go ahead and throw it in all the questions. And all you can say that you're doing is that the next day you're going to hope to clean things up. So day 8, finally, you've taken enough losses, and what happens? You size down. You size the F down, okay? And now you're back to maybe a $50 gain, and now day 9 here you're back to, maybe a couple of bucks here or there. Now, guess what? You are gun shy, all right? You are quite gun shy here. Wes is saying, dude, where are all the comments? Am I not supposed to see them? Well, dude, they're in the go-to webinar stuff. So I'm not in the Steam room right now. If you want me to take a look at that one, don't worry about it. But Wes, go ahead and talk in here. So now by day 9 here, you're pretty gun shy. You've sized down. Now you're trying to figure out what you're doing in life. You're questioning your ability as a trader. Maybe you're picking up a book again, and maybe you're trying to figure out what the hell you're doing with life, right? And all this happens in 9 days, right? 9 days you question your ability as a trader, and also in that same period of time, you've also proven that you can make some money because you did have a $3,000 day, okay? So this is what you have to go through every single month, every single day. Okay? Now, until the point where you can detach yourself from your P&L. How many of you guys feel like you're at a point where you can detach yourself from your P&L? Okay? And Jesus, would you say, I would say you probably at the place that you're in now, you've pretty much detached yourself from your P&L, no?
Yeah. Now it's become robotic now, Lucci. You know what I mean? Now it's just become robotic for me.
Exactly. Now, here's the problem. For those of you who can't, you have built these expectations, right? expectations of how much money you should make during the month, expectations of how much money you should make during the day, expectations of making back losses, right? Maybe you've got a shit ton of losses that you need to make back, and you're trying to do it in a quick period of time. Anybody who is trying to do that, well, guess what? Unless you have the greatest market in the world to do that, you are not going to make that P&L back. Jesus, how many times have you tried to make back losses aggressively, and you just shot yourself in the foot?
Every time. Every time in the past. Seriously, every single time when I try to, exactly what you're explaining. Anytime, and again, Lucci, you got to think of it too, it's magnified. When I used to do it, it would be client money involved too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So think about all that emotion and times that by like 100, okay?
Right.
Because I had to try to make back the money that they lost because I was hearing it,
Right.
So it even put even more emotion in it at that time. So yeah, I totally hear it.
James is saying and I'm writing an article about this, by the way, James, and love to send it to you when I'm done. P&L is your self-worth. So let's talk about this for a little bit, right? How many of you guys make, you might make a couple $1,000s a day, or you make $1,000 in a day and you feel good, right? You go outside, your interactions with people are great, your interactions with your family are great, your interactions with your kids are great. The next day you might lose some money, or let's say you lose a big chunk, and all of a sudden you become a shitty person. Like, you become a shitty person. You don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to eat right. You don't want to do this. So now you start self-medicating, right? So you start, seeking out the things that, that make you happy. So at that moment, it might be a fucking donut. It might be whatever the hell it is, but that's where you go. Like, for me, I go have a steak and cheese. I get a big-ass, large steak and cheese. And I get mushrooms, I get the onions, I get the tomatoes, man, I get the hot peppers, you know what I mean? And then I bury my sorrows in a fucking steak and cheese. That's what I do. And then the next day, I'm good. Next day, I'm good after I have my cheesesteak, right? Now, these are all things that people do that, again, we just push away some of these issues, but we're never really solving them. We are never really solving some of these issues here. Wes is saying, I only feel good if it's 5 figures, but feel bad if I lose only 3 or 4 figures. So feeling bad that you lost X, Y, and Z, or you took a trade for scratch, like, these are all the emotions that snowball into other things, and they most likely snowball into bad trading decisions, or trading during times where there isn't any opportunity. The fact is, we know when we should be taking a trade. We know when we should size up in a trade. We know when we should take profits, because it's now just instinctual, right? Most of you guys here know when you need to take your profits up. You know when you need to get in something or get out of something because shit's looking a little weird. Are you going to do it? No. What's going to happen as a consequence here? It's going to snowball into a lot of bad decisions, aka holding on to things that are just going against you, not taking profits when you should. This is what we do every single day. So I want one of you guys to rationally tell me, with no bullshit, okay, with no bullshit, what are you doing to solve these problems right now? What are you doing? Literally. What are you doing? Now, Jesus has come up with a solution in the sense that, I have a system. I don't step outside that system. What was the cost he needed to pay to come up with that system? Okay, so similarly, that's literally what you're going for. If you can't get there, though, think of all the pain and emotional pain you're going to cause yourself, by that time that you kind of figure it out. Okay, let's go ahead and pull some of these questions here. We got a ton of them here. Nav is saying, lately gains don't hold, so I sold Google calls early and Google ran until Friday. I left 120K on the table, but made 30. Still feeling like shit. How to avoid this? So Nav has a great one, too, on the other side. It's like you left so much cash on the table, and you didn't take the trade to the full potential. So now look at the other side of the equation. If you're a trader, and you are supposed to extract the profits that you need to in order to coast out for a month or 2 months, you need to be able to take a trade for as much as you can, okay? But there's also something that you need to realize about the market is that, you're never going to get these things 100%. You're never going to get them that great, okay? So there's the whole thing of acceptance here, all right? And Jesus, can you give us a couple examples of how you've accepted your abilities and you've accepted the market and you know you can try to go for more. You know you can try to go for different things, but you don't do that. And why don't you do that? So can you give us that?
Yeah, and it still bothers me, Lucci. You hear me
Of
throughout the
course.
chat room. I sell a stock, it still goes, and I mentioned I got to take it off my screen because it annoys the shit out of me and stuff like that. But I come to the realization, for me, it happens too much to bother me now with my style. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
I'm always selling early. That's part of my, I guess you could say that's my main issue. But at the same time, I'm content with what I'm doing. Once you figure out a way to be profitable at this game, there's always going to be stuff out there that bothers you, that you want more of,
Yes.
okay? But you have to be satisfied and content with what you're doing if you're making money to last making money in this game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the algos every day that are trading and making a couple pennies each way in SPY throughout the day, yeah, they can let one winner run and get that dollar, but they do not. Why? Because they're made to do a certain thing.
Right.
They do it well, they do it profitably, and that's all they focus on,
Yes.
right? But they're machines, obviously.
They are
But,
machines.
so that's what you have to. That's what you have to get yourself in this game. You got to get to that spot where you discover a certain method that makes you money. You're happy with it, and you're focused on only doing that. Because once you try to go outside that box, that's when you get in trouble. That's when you get in trouble.
Indeed. So to go back to Nav's point, and again, Nav's point is really good because now Nav is in a situation where there's 100K on the table that is lost profits, right? Lost coulda, woulda, shoulda profits. Okay. Now, what does that do to his mind, right? Nav's mind is like, shit, I should have made 100 on that. Okay. Why didn't I make 100 on that? Okay. So next trade here, I got to hold. I got to make sure I hold. Next trade here, I got to make sure I hold, and I got to make sure I pull through. Now, what's that also going to do? Okay, what's that also going to do? Now he's going to size up. Now he's going to size up in trade number 2, right? More than what he had before because he has the confidence. He knows what he's doing and blah, blah, blah. This trade is going to happen to not be the one to go for it, okay? It might not work out. He's going to hold on to his option, and he's going to lose 100% of whatever he puts in that freaking option. I mean, again, I might be exaggerating this a little bit, Nav, but, how many times have you held an option that was, let's say, $1, and it went to freaking 10 cents on you, and you finally came back and magically made some cash? Like, Nav, that Google, you were in those Google calls early. That thing dumped. I know the premium on those options was shit before you came back to life. I know it, right? So if you're going to focus on just one name, I think that's what you need to do, Nav. If you just focused on that Google and just that Google and didn't look at anything else, this is a better strategy for you. And that way you can focus on just that one name, you catch that move in that one name, and you move the fuck on. What if I also told you that there is a program out there that does exactly what you do, takes the profit at 30K or 40K, and doesn't have any issues with it? Right? Think about that. If you were a program, did what you did, timed the Google trade well, took your profit, and what happened? Do you think the program would have the emotions? No. Do you think the program would trade the next trade with the baggage, with the mental baggage, from 100K lost profits on the table that it could have made? Fuck no. No. But you do. And how does that affect you? And how does that affect what you do? You said you're feeling like shit. It's Saturday. It's a freaking weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. You shouldn't even be here talking to me, but here you are talking about you feel like shit, okay? So there's a lot of things that happen in your head, that get thrust onto the market, that get thrust onto what we do in the markets, that cause us to have these issues and cause our P&L to go absolutely wild here. So we're still on the first topic here, and we got tons of freaking questions. Mike is saying, can you also comment on grinding throughout the days when there's not much opportunity and it feels like wasting time, to not make much in spite of showing good discipline with trading less? Dude, you have to be okay with stepping away. You have to be okay with doing nothing. And this is the issue with trading, right? Our self-worth is derived from our P&L. If we're not making P&L, you feel like you're doing nothing, right? You're a fucking bum. You're sitting in front of your computer and you're doing nothing. As opposed to, let's say, a 9 to 5, where you're going to work, you're getting a paycheck, you're most likely doing nothing over there, but you're still getting a fucking check for it, right? So how is this any different? Right? But we can't sit in front of our computers and not do anything because we need to be involved in something. AKA now, what are the other emotions here? Boredom, you know, you freaking whatever the hell it is. You want to make up for losses, you know, and that's what's going to cause you to overtrade. Okay? James is saying, I'm lazy if I don't trade. If he doesn't trade, that means he's lazy during the day. AKA, he probably won't go. If there's nothing to trade, he probably won't go to the gym. So how the fuck does that make sense, right? If there's nothing to trade, you don't get off your ass and go to the gym. If there's nothing to trade. If there's nothing to trade, there's nothing to trade. Let me get up and let me go to the fucking gym. Why don't I do that? Because there's the possibility of me making some money somewhere. And there's always the possibility. All right? The freedom of choice, baby. The worst thing that I think that has ever happened to Americans since God knows what is the freedom of choice. And that's why you sit there and you fucking overtrade. Okay? What are you doing now to stop yourself from overtrading? I guarantee maybe 10% of you actually leave the computer screen and go do something else. Jesus, how do you combat, you know, wanting to trade, and or how have you done it in the past?
Well, maybe now, you know, it doesn't really faze me as much because I'm doing something. Like you said, maybe if you're tied up doing something else, it will relieve that feeling. Like, you know, I'm watching the flow all day long. You know what I mean? I'm commenting in the steam room about the flow of the action. So even though I'm not trading per se, I'm still active in the market throughout that day. But I'll give you a perfect example, okay? That gap up day, the first day that we gapped up last week, okay, that started this push. I traded one name the whole day and made hardly anything much. MGM, if you remember, I think you were in it too.
Yep.
But there was nothing for me. There was, you know, we mentioned there was not one legitimate, good-looking call sweeper throughout that whole gap up push higher. So I didn't trade anything else that whole day. So while everybody all over the place was high-fiving as the market gapped up and went even higher, you know, another 20 handles on SPY, I didn't trade anything because, you know, for what I looked for throughout the flow, didn't give me anything to trade. So I did nothing, okay? But then the following 2 days, the market actually was a little bit slower, drifted higher, and, you know, I traded everything that was legitimate and made some money. So, you know, I'm relying on one thing. You know, if there's no aggressive call sweepers, Lucci, that meet what I'm looking for,
right,
there's nothing for me to trade. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you know what? Facebook looks like you might make new highs here. Let me go take a shot without flow behind it. You know, I'm at the point now that it's not even a thought in my head, no matter what the market's doing. So, you know, maybe for what you're saying, maybe like you said, you got to leave the screen, go to the gym. Maybe because I'm all day looking at the flow anyway, right, that's giving me something to do, right, to take away from, you know, feeling like I have to do something today.
Right, right, absolutely. And guys, we got a bunch of questions coming in, and guys, keep them coming here. This is all we're going to do here today. Just a quick break here. I think no. Who else do we have? Rich here saying, Jesus, can you talk about the reversal day? Right now we're talking psychology stuff. Rich, let's go ahead and push that to the end of the webinar. Joshua is saying, not listening to Herbs has helped me improve my trading. Sometimes you got to step away from a chat room. Sometimes you have to step away from Sometimes you have to step away from Twitter. Sometimes you have to step away from all of this. Sometimes you have to say, hey, Twitter does nothing for me. Chat rooms do nothing for me. Sometimes you have to make that call and leave and bounce and actively pursue something that you can manage. You know, some people do this. Some people come to us and say, hey, we just want the flow. We don't want to be in the chat room. You can do that. You can do that. That way you just get access to what's popping, and you base your ideas off of that. That's just part of your access as part of your system. Sometimes you have to do that. Now, are you going to do that? I don't know. That's a completely different story. And that's the same thing when it comes to the solutions to all these problems. I'm seeing all these solutions coming out, right? Patience is key, waiting for the next setup. Who does that, right? How many times do you do that? But how many times do you also fuck that up completely? We got Wes here is saying, so I allow myself a starting position and one more ad if it's working, but only go full size if I get confirmation. If no confirmation, then I'm supposed to get out, but often don't and wait for it to come back. How much does that cost you? Wes, what if there was a database of all your trades, and there should be, and there should be one at a finger's access here, a click of a button. What if you knew exactly how much money that cost you? Would you do anything different? I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people know this stuff, and they still can't do anything. And this is all going to lead up to my big conclusion for you guys towards the end of the webinar. So stay tuned here. What do we got here? Next one is here, properly managing your expectations. All right, so let's talk expectations here a little bit. I've gone through a lot of stages of different expectations, right? Let me give you my sort of life story as far as expectations. 2006, I started prop trading, and my expectation was just to figure things out. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, right? I was making maybe 20 bucks a day or 50 bucks a day. I would lose 40 bucks. I would lose $100. And by the end of the month, I'd either be down $1,000 or I'd be up like $100 minus commissions, which would always make me down something. So that happened for like 6 months or I don't know. And finally, I started to have a decent month, right? I started to have like $5,000 months, and things kind of continued. Then it became, okay, what's the expectation now? Then it became, all right, I got X, Y, and Z amount of bills. I need to make this much a month, right? How many of you guys have done this or gone through this? Everybody does this, right? So for the month here, I need to make $3,000, and then plus a little on the top, so $5,000 a month. So I would shoot for monthly P&L of $5K a month, okay? Now, what would this do? This would mean that, let's say at day 20, let's say at day 19, a P&L was, I don't know, 4,500. And guess what? Expectation is 5K. I'd push it to try to get to 5,000, and then all of a sudden I'd end the month at 3K, right? And that's all pure emotions, right? That's all that is. It's just you wanting to make a trade, you wanting to get here, but not realizing we live in an unpredictable situation, right? The market is very unpredictable. You can't just guarantee like, okay, I'm going to make $5,000 a month. I didn't get that at the time. This was like 2007. Then the market started crashing, right? I was pulling down fucking 20 grand in a day, just shorting everything. I'd wake up, Goldman would be down 15 on the open. I'd just short 2,000 shares. I'd grab my balls 2 minutes later, cover for 3 points, and do it again and again and again and again all day, right? That was what was going on. Then I was like, holy shit. Now I'm having a $50,000 month, right? Now my expectations went to the moon. So now it's like, okay, I got to make 50,000 every single month. And what happened? The next month, I would lose 30 grand. The month after that, I'd make 40 grand. The next month, I would lose 10 grand, 20 grand. My position size went through the roof, and I was all over the place, Then I was like, okay, day trading here is freaking insane. Okay, and the market had already crapped out at that point, okay, and this was like 2009. So then I was like, all right, I got to get on this swing tip, right? So I took all my cash, I took all my pops' cash, and I started swing trading, right? And I would only look at one name every single month. I would only look at one name, maybe every single 2 weeks. I'd look at one fucking name, and I'd put the whole fucking account. Maybe not the whole damn account, but I had like 50 grand, 100 grand. I grew it to like $250,000 maybe, and then I founded options, right? I mean, I didn't found the basis of options, but I started to mess around with options, and I was like, holy shit, I can put 100 grand in these things and double my money in 2 fucking days, right? So then I was like, all right, that's it. I'm only trading one name, and I want some size in this stuff, and that's how I made everything in the beginning. So then when you make that cash, then I made like $2-3 million bucks, right? This was 2009. And now I'm like, all right, that's it. Now I'm ready for the big fucking leagues, right? And my position sizes are through the roof, and I'm expecting to make more, 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 more. Then all of a sudden you go through a market that you don't understand, and you start just pulling out things from all kinds of places. I ended up losing maybe $500,000 in 6 months, right? Crazy, absolutely crazy. Took a break. Then come back to the market that I don't understand after weekly options got released in 2010. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. There was so many, the moves were happening so much quicker than they were happening in 2007. 2007, it took me like 2 weeks to get a position here. In 2011 or 2012, I had like a day. I had like a day to put on the same damn position. I wasn't ready to move like that. So I lost immediately, and I was just churning, spinning wheels here for a couple of years. And then finally, 2013, 2014, made it all back. But again, there's so many swings. There's so many swings. There's so many expectations. Now I have the expectation of all the things that I was able to do in New York. Having a huge apartment, having a huge, having a huge everything, having a lifestyle that was just insane. And you have these expectations that you're living on, right? Let alone if you got losses to make back. What are your expectations? Shit, I got to make all this shit back, right? I got to make this back and then some. I got to get back to where I was. How many of you guys are stuck in your past right now? How many of you guys are stuck way in your past right now? I mean, I'm expecting every single one of you guys to raise your freaking hands, right? How many of you guys are stuck way in your past, in what you could have done, in what you should have done, and blah, 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 right? And you're sitting there and decision-making wise, you are sitting there trying to make these decisions while you're stuck in your past. And while you still think you can do what you did in your past. Well, guess what, my friend? Guess what? You fucking can't. You can't. If you're going to do it, you have to go about it differently, right? You have to go about it differently. And you have to go about it by going back. You got to take those several steps back in order to get back to where you was. Guys, money pours into this market every single day. Millionaires are made every single day. If you have the right mindset and you're making the right decisions, that money is going to come back quick, all right? But if you do not, guess what? You're not going to be able to achieve what you did in the past, okay? Let alone exceed that. Gene is saying, what's up with the foul language? Apologize, man. Dude, if you need earmuffs or get some headphones here, this is just how we do it.
Earmuffs.
This is just how we do it. So, Jesus here, can you give us a story here about expectation, and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, no, everything you hit on is so true, and but that's what I think you have to come to the realization one day too at the same time that what you're risking becomes more important than the profits you're trying to attain. Okay, my opinion is once you start focusing on your risk more than your profits, that's when things start to fall into line. I got into this day trade only frame of mind because what stuck out at me was the minimal amount of risk I was taking, okay? A lot of people say, oh, Jesus, it didn't bother you that you traded Netflix and you made 80 cents, but the next day it gapped up 4? Yeah, it bothers me, but what risk did I have to take holding that overnight, okay, and getting that additional money? What risk did I take by putting on the trade and just playing it the way I did in the day? I had my stop there, my minimal downside risk, and I made 80, 90 cents to the upside. So I think that's what really turned the corner for me as far as my style now is when I started focusing on my risk more than chasing what I can make. And especially now, Lucci, you and I have spoke about this more than ever, and you mentioned when options really started taking off for you. In my day, nobody traded options. Options were, options were hedging your risk.
Yep.
Options were for sophisticated style type trading.
Yep.
You had to be a so-called accredited investor. Now there's people with $2,000 accounts, playing weeklies for home runs. I mean, it's a different game right now.
Yep.
So, and it's hard. Listen, when you're playing weeklies especially, there's no more risk out there than playing weeklies. Let's be honest, right? I mean, that's as risky as you're going to get. So you got to understand what you're getting into. But when I got into the game, like options, you didn't even, if you were a new trader, that was the last place you looked when you started or tried to make money. Because, that was flat out gambling.
Yep.
And it still is. It's just
And
now.
the spreads too, by the way, like before when, in Jesus' days, like remember we had, we only had penny pricing from what, 2004 or whatever the hell it was. I don't know when it was that they switched to penny pricing, but these things were all fractions. So you would bid, if you had an $8 stock, the bid would be 8 and then the offer would be 8 1/4. Your option spread would be egregious. Ridiculous. Yeah. So the only people that were messing with those things were the sellers. Because there was so much spread to sell, and that was, those were the people making money then. So again, game has changed completely.
Completely, and like I said, now you see a lot of novice traders, newbie traders who really, let's be honest, if you just started trading, you think you're going to have a handle on how to get in and out of options, especially weekly options. A lot of new traders, they go in and they think, all right, Google's going to go here. Let me put on some weeklies.
Right.
And like you point out a lot of times, Lucci, even some of the thinner names, Google's a bad example, but a thinner name, they cross the spread, they take out the offer, they're already down 60 cents, 70 cents on the position.
Yep.
They didn't even start yet,
Yep.
So you're behind the 8 ball already. So you don't know what you're doing, and in my opinion, you really have to start focusing on your risk. Like Lucci's pointing out, when you're chasing the profits, you could get a lot of trouble in this game, and Lucci has showed many examples of how.
Man, again, my swings are bigger than a lot of folks, but they're still nothing in comparison to some of these hedge fund guys that you see swinging crazy money too. These guys taking huge losses right now. And when they take losses, let's say they have $7 billion under management, they're taking losses of $500,000 or $1 billion in a year. You know what I mean? So things get pretty crazy for them too. Bill has a question here. Our hardest issue is having the bigger picture nailed, but messing up the intraday moves. Example. Entered NQ, basically Bazooka Joe'd it, target 45, should still be long, got out way too early, then got chopped, think it would pull back. Exactly. So original idea equals right, second idea, complete guess, and then it goes into a shit show here. So again, Bill is showing a classic example of, hey, I have a strategy, and I can't stick to that fucking strategy. So if you're in that camp, which by the way, you might be in that camp for I don't know, 50% of the time, and the other 50% you're actually listening to what you're doing. But if your mind, okay, we're talking about a bigger issue here right now. If your mind does not have the fortitude to stick with a particular strategy every single day, every single tick, no matter what happens, then what are your chances of what are your fucking chances? What are your chances at actually executing this strategy properly over and over and over again for the long haul, for the big picture? So even when you get the strategy, guess what? Now, even if you get the strategy right, the ticks, you can't even handle the ticks. So you can't even handle the ticks in the name that you're sitting in. So what are the ticks going to do? The ticks are going to drive you crazy. You're going to look at every single penny, every single dollar that moves in the market, and what is that going to happen to your strategy, right? Like all of a sudden, now your mind is trying to convince you that you're fucking wrong, right? That you're wrong, and you got to do something else, and you got to do something else, and you got to do something else, right?
We see it all day long, Lucci. We see it all day long in the chat room as well. They're swing traders, okay? They're out in the open.
Yep.
We swing trade, we don't day trade, and yet they're watching every minute tick.
Exactly.
Inside the daily trading day, talking, if I had $1 every time the breakout and breakdown were mentioned inside that one trading session, I would retire. And yet they're swing traders. So they shouldn't even be focusing on that stuff, and it's driving them nuts.
Exactly.
But Bill, I just want to mention this, Bill. I totally hear where you're coming from, because that's that's the reason why I couldn't swing trade as well as I day trade. Because of that, I didn't have the patience to stick around for just those Bazooka Joe moments, because I had to do something, inside the next month or two. I had to do something. So that's why, swing trading, there was nowhere near as much discipline for me. And me and Lucci right now are currently speaking about an automated way that we could get involved in something together, Lucci and I, for just those, sharp paper moments that come in. A Bazooka Joe on Netflix recently, where we don't even have to overthink or get involved in anything else around it. Just that for swing trading. So don't put the blame just solely on yourself. That's something everyone deals with. It's impossible to just wait on the special situations. Impossible.
Right. And sometimes you may be in a situation, sometimes you may be in a mental situation where you've mastered it, right? And sometimes you flop out. In 2009, when I was able to make all that money, I literally only looked at one fucking stock and the SPY, of course, and that was it. I trained myself to do that for a small period of time. Now, once I made the money, I went buck fucking wild, right? I went wild. I was like, oh my God, now I have all this cash. I can do whatever the fuck I want to. I started writing options. I started doing this. I started doing that. And it was crazy. And then I started having 100K down days, 100K up days every single day. Then it became back about the day trade, which it shouldn't have been. And now think of how your mind flops, right? How many of you guys flip-flop on everything? Strategy, on where you should get out, on emotions, on this, on that, on what decision you should make, right? We are so flip-floppy all the time because of these emotions. And you guys ask yourself, and you wonder why, and you sit there and you pick up the newspapers, and all it talks about is further automation. All it talks about is machine learning automation. All it talks about are the new programming languages that are going to come out, and robots are going to be able to learn. You don't even have to code this shit. They're going to be able to learn. Okay? And this is where it has to go. Okay? So this is my conclusion here. All right? This is my little conclusion here. Then we'll go ahead and take some questions and everything. My conclusion here is that human emotion, okay, is way too raw. It's way too potent. It cannot be controlled in the way that we need to. Okay, especially for us to be able to do this on a daily basis. If you're going to sit there and intraday trade, the only person that has mastered this is the person that has taken enough losses and still is in the game, aka WallStJesus. Okay, the only person who has taken enough pain and enough losses to figure out that, hey, I know the other side of this game. This is going to be my system, and this is what I'm going to do. If you guys aren't there yet, then guess where you need to go in order to make this happen, all right? If you're 2 years into your trading or 3 years into your trading or whatever the hell it is, maybe you've had some experience, maybe you've had some successes, and now all of a sudden you're trying to make back all these losses. In reality, in the long term here, in the long term, 10 years down the road or whatever, are you going to be able to do this with the emotional palette that you have to deal with on a daily basis? If you admit this to yourself right now, chances are you can all say, fuck no. Fuck no, I cannot. It's not going to be possible for me to control my emotions over the long haul unless I am able to stick to this system. How likely is it that I'm going to be able to stick to this system? This is going to be very unlikely. This is going to be another thing that is very unlikely. I'm at a situation where I have made a lot and I have lost a lot. So I'm close to where Jesus is. I'm close to realizing that the market is just just a place where people, dance around like jackasses all freaking day, okay? And you have to carve out your little stake, and you can't worry about these dances that are happening on a daily basis, okay? So now I am in the position, I am in the place to develop a easy automation here for all of us. So that way, the little emotional jukes that you have with your particular strategies, whether they be intraday or swing trading, we can just fix them with a click of a button. That's literally all we need to do, and that'll go ahead and make sure that we don't flop around on some of the things that we're doing intraday or swing trading or whatever it is. So we can build some of this automation to adapt to any strategy, and that's going to be the solution. Now, we're still the ones putting on the trades. We're still the ones making the decisions, but we are allowing a computer to come in and say, hey, you're fucking up right now. We're going to go ahead and shut this down. You know what I mean? And it's a lot more adaptive than a regular stop loss on the day. I mean, a lot of prop firms used to do this by, maxing a trader at $1,000 loss a day. That shit doesn't fucking help, and it doesn't do anything, okay? We need something that is more adaptive, that is more advanced, that will actually look into our trading, how many times we fuck up, how do we fuck up, and all of a sudden, it's going to say, all right, this is where you fuck up. Boom, we're going to go ahead and stop this for you. Okay? That way, it'll keep you on an even keel. It'll keep you knowing that you can be as emotional as you want to be, because we are all humans, and this is what we have to go through. You can be emotional as you want to be, but you're still able to manage your account size. You're still able to not blow up, stay in the game, and take your profits as you need to here. So let's go ahead and take some questions. A lot of good stuff here we talked about. Obviously, the recording is always available to you guys. We'll go ahead and throw that out there as well. Jim is saying, I hate to admit flip-flopping, but hey, that's clearly a problem for me. Wes is saying, I blew up 3 times before enough was enough, but still a struggle. E-Carson is saying, don't follow people on Twitter who give opinions, just who give facts. James is saying, I'm so far from being able to quantify how I trade and make a system. Exactly, and that's the first part, James. That's the first part. So for everybody who is where James is at, take the next fucking week off. Don't trade next week. Don't trade half the June, okay? You have to do some serious thinking on can you do this, and what is it going to take for you to be able to do this? Where do your emotions screw you up? Where do you, often make mistakes as far as decision making? That's what you need to outline first before you can actually attack this market. But guess what? Most people aren't going to do that. Why? Because expectations rule your whole life, okay? Expectations rule your life. Again, your net worth or your self-worth is derived from your P&L. Therefore, when Tuesday comes around and futures show us we're up 10 handles, guess what you're going to do? You're going to be on there clicking fucking buttons like we never had this conversation. This is how shitty the human condition is, all right? Regardless of what you know you should do, you ain't going to do shit, all right? And that is the conclusion here that I have come to, even for myself, unless you are at a point where you have realized that this game is just, can go so many different ways, and who cares? And unless you take yourself away from that want, that desire, all that kind of shit, you're not going to be able to stick to that system, okay, over the long haul. You might have a period of time where you do, but you're always going to regress. You're always going to come back, okay? And that's the technology that saying Lucci and WallStJesus are now involved in heavily, okay? Because we realize this. I mean, I can sit here and talk to you about this shit for days. I can tell you, what I used to do 5, 6, 7 years ago was tell people to go read Trading in the Zone. Anytime you joined a prop firm, they would give you that fucking book, right? Go read Trading in the Zone. Anytime you went through a couple drawdowns, go read Trading in the Zone. How many times are you going to read Trading in the Zone? How many times are you going to see the same shit? How many times are you going to hear the same shit before you can actually do shit? Well, guess what? You're never going to hear it enough times, okay? And this is a problem. This is a big problem as far as emotions and solving these issues. We are now involved and aggressively trying to solve these issues with automation and not hamper our traders. We still want our traders to do whatever the fuck they want to do and trade whatever the hell they want to trade. But whenever they have missteps in their logic, whenever they have missteps in emotions, the automation is there to save you. And that's what we are going after. Okay, so if you are in this crew, if you are in this network, that will be offered up to you first, before anybody. So we do suggest, again, join the crew here. Questions? Any questions at all? Jesus, you want to make some comments here?
Yeah, and just, now more than ever, we are in a market, in a world that feasts off emotion. Let's be honest. We just, right in front of our face, we saw a perfect example of how this market just eats people for breakfast that based their trades off emotion, right? We had the Fed, they're going to raise rates. Oh my God, Armageddon. Let's get all heavy on the put side. Let's protect our ass. Put buying was at, higher levels than we've seen throughout any correction since 2008.
I got caught too, by the way. I was short the shit. I had those 199 SPY puts, and then I bluntly just bailed 205. But I thought we were going to the depths.
Everybody, and that's why, again, put buying was at extraordinary levels. You had every guru and Gunlock and Icon coming on a station that every trader watches in CNBC saying, gloom and doom is coming, get ready, right? And what happens? Market reels in everybody, and then pow, right? Just squeezes them to death over the last couple of days here, to death. All right, and that's a perfect example that no matter how much you know in this game, all right, whether it's economically, as far as the market's concerned, anything, it does you nothing when it comes to making money in this market. It does nothing. Because you see right in front of you, this was just a perfect example of how this market reeled in everyone based on emotion and just screwed them all. And now they're stuck. All right, so don't take it personally. It's not just you. It's everybody out there. And this market feasts on retail traders. Trust me, feast on them. And if and when you could get to the point, like Lucci mentioned, where you realize there's nothing else out there. Okay, that's kind of what, when I got to the point where I just solely do what I do now, is I realized that, yeah, you know what, I could have took a shot and played some options into earnings and made money, but that would have been just luck. I would have got lucky. And the next time I would have got unlucky and lost it back. Okay? I could have traded Facebook today and made some money even though there was no action behind it, but that would have been luck. All right? So I know no matter what's going on around me right now, I'm at the point where I know there's no reason for me to deviate, because based on my experience and everything I've tried out there, there is nothing else for me out there. I found something that I can make money consistently, and I don't want to even hear about anything else.
Yeah.
But for some of the newer traders to get to that point is unrealistic, right?
Yep.
I mean, you mentioned, I'm in the game 20 years. I've tried and seen it all. I've seen people blow up around me on 90 different methods out there, from Elliott waves to this to that, Ichimoku clouds. You would think they're gurus if you spoke to them for a half hour. Gurus. They would blow your mind. And you know what happened? 2 months later, out of the game, buried.
Indeed.
So, you know, there's nothing, it's all about emotions, about finding that one thing in this market that you can make some money consistently, not get rich overnight. It's not going to happen. So take that weekly option dream out of your head. It doesn't exist, okay? It's that consistency that matters, and it's taking that, focusing on that, and mastering that. And once you build up the confidence, okay, that you found something that works, then that's when you can position size accordingly, and then you start to see real money come in. You know, but to expect that off the bat, it's not going to happen.
Indeed, indeed. All right, let's take some questions. I mean, again, there's a lot of stuff here coming out, you know, that you guys are talking about. Carlos is saying the steam room info is gold. Do not enter any trade without a trail stop to limit the downside. After the trade is going in the direction you want, divide the play with 2 or 3 stop trails to scale down, and we'll be fine because risk loss is limited. Absolutely. So Carlos here has a solid way of going about it. It's just, you know, track names that are happening in the steam room, and again, I mean, we find all the juicy shit. One of the best trades I had actually last week was this AMD, and that was all of it. All of it was the steam room here. Look at this AMD, and this was the swing trade that I put on my swing account here. All this consolidation here, all of a sudden people started buying the 4 calls, the 4.5 calls. I started buying the 4 call for June at around 20-30 cents. Take a look at this option here. You'll see this one as well. And you know, in reality, sticking to some of these swing trades is always the better strategy for me. Why? Because it affords me the ability to step away from the markets, to not really be addicted to every single tick. So I'm best suited for swing trading. I am always best suited for swing trading. So I started buying a little here. Luckily, I wasn't too heavy here, or I might have gotten shaken out of this position. Started buying a little bit more. My cost was around 20 to about a quarter. And I sold the other day, 55 and 60 cents, you know, and I got size on this shit. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of action going on in these AMD options. You know, that's a triple here. It's a triple here in a couple of weeks. So it's not a question if you're going to be able to find trades in the steam room. That's not a fucking question. That's never a question. The question is how you are actually going to trade these things. How are you going to trade these things? How are you going to execute? And this is the difficult part about trading, and I understand, and that's why we're having this webinar. Emotions have a huge part in you sticking to any kind of system, sticking to any kind of plan, and sticking to any kind of strategy, and it is very difficult. And the point here in this webinar is to tell you that emotionally, it's freaking damn near impossible, especially with the market that we have right now. It is inevitable that you flip-flop. Okay, this means that you either need that system or you need something that's going to keep you in check. Okay, if you are that kind of person that has that emotional that has that just emotional personality where you flip flop a lot, then you need something that's going to keep you in check. I have a program that I just rolled out, and I'm only bringing select traders in the beginning, just to test it out and make sure that my automation works where it should. There's no kinks and all that kind of stuff. I have a program that I am rolling out to a select group of traders that is going to do just that. So these are traders that have the capability of making an absurd amount of money, but they just can't get there because of their emotional pitfalls. And this automation here is supposed to, if it does work properly, to cut down on serious drawdowns and to help them reach these lofty goals. And if this works, I'm just going to roll it out to retail. So this is all we're working on right now. So Jesus has given us the the steam room, the order flow, so we know what to trade. We know how to trade, but now it's all about execution. It's all about helping out with execution. So if anybody's interested in that, go ahead and hit us up. Join the crew. This is all we're working on all the time. We are advancing technology all the time and getting to the next level of trading. Trading platforms are going to look so different in the next 10 years. The way people trade is going to be so different in the next 10 years. The way the market moves is going to be so different in the next 10 years, simply because liquidity, simply because of, who's actually trading it, simply because of the, the sophistication of all the computers out there. Who's actually going to be in this market doing things. If hedge funds are now just disappearing and saying, all right, we can't even do this shit anymore, you know what I mean? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Is there going to be lower volumes out there? How is the market going to work? And we are ahead and always watching any of these changes and trying to give that information to our traders to keep you on the same level here. So it's a good crew here to check out. You can go ahead and check us out here for 49 bucks here for the first month, and then you get rebilled for 199 after that. I will go ahead and throw this coupon in. Actually, you should be rebilled at 199. Let me find that link. So give me 1 second here. Jesus, you want to shoot the shit with them? Take some questions here.
Yeah, and just to go on a point, Lucci, you made as far as your trading style, and this is me looking on the outside. A lot of times, a trader in the heat of the moment really, unless they have the data to look at after the fact, really can't see their sweet spot, as I like to say. And, Lucci, I could see, the minute I walked into this room and started, we started trading together and using each other's stuff, I realized instantaneously, it didn't take long for me to see that when you had a vision, okay, you were eyeing something, and then the flow came to confirm that was the trade for you. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Every time, every instant that has both lined up, I think you've knocked it out of the park.
Knocked it out of
the park. The problem is in the interim, waiting for things to line up, right? That's been the main issue all the time.
Always.
But when they line up, when I see Lucci like, all right, this IBB, man, it's consolidating here, or we're looking for some action, and that action comes, it's been like popcorn, explosive. Netflix, you name it, the list goes on and on. Yep. But it's, again, the patience in waiting for those things to come around and line up, that's the hardest part. Not getting the edge. The edge is there. We got that already.
Yep.
It's executing and waiting to be able to execute those trades.
Yes. Patrick Peep here has a question. What are your thoughts around using the weekly open interest to predict your trades? So changes in open interest. Jesus, you want to take that one? We have a lot of people. There's a lot of people that come out on Twitter, and we get this question a lot. Frankly, I have my own opinions, but Jesus, what do you think?
No, I don't pay attention to it. It's just, I look at it, and I give you a perfect example, like coming into this week, I like to, shoot out those SPY, put the call, open interest charts and so forth. You really needed to be blind not to see that, they were lopsided puts coming into this week. We spoke about on the webinars, we were anticipating a squeeze at some point, and it finally came. But outside of that, I don't use it in my trading much, just again as background stuff to get an idea where we are. But I wouldn't focus too much on that. There's no real trade out of it in my opinion.
No doubt. Let's see. Patrick C is also saying here, what do you propose a minimum capitalization for? It depends on what you want to do, man. It depends on what you want to do. If you think you're an all-star and, you want to try a lot of different strategies and all that kind of stuff, you want to start with more. Always more is better. But at the same time, if you're like a complete newbie here, you don't want to start with 25K because you're going to blow out that 25K. You know what I mean? Like you got to figure out what you're doing. So Patrick, that's a difficult question for us to answer without knowing a little bit about you. You know, so that's gonna vary. Jesus, any?
Yeah, you got it. You know, Patrick, that's the first thing I would concern myself with. According to your bankroll and risk and all that stuff, what strategy are you looking to take? Are we talking about day trading options, day trading equity, swing trading? I mean, it's all going to depend on that, obviously. You know, so you got to come up with some sort of game plan, saying, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm looking to day trade equities. I'm looking to day trade options, and then get a better idea of what you're willing to risk and take it nice and easy. You know, a lot of people and a lot of new members I see, they just come in, they want to glance at the tote board from time to time, pick a random, you know, order off the board, and then automatically just fire. You know, and that's not the way to do things. Take a step back, try to get a feel for things, have some sort of plan behind it. You know, take a look at how I push this more than anybody out there, and so many utilize this. The first thing I would do, okay, and this is what caught my eye off Wise Guy Order Flow, would be every single aggressive, okay, legit sweeper out there, I would pull up a 1-minute chart and just watch it react. And I learned so much just by not even trading it. For example, a sweep came in and somebody swept $300,000 of Netflix calls. I would just pull up a 1-minute on Netflix and just watch to see how the stock react, you know? And then I would see more orders come in and the stock would gain some volume and momentum to the upside, and that really gave me a feel for how to trade these things. And then, you know, it got me to the point to say, all right, the true edge, the way I can make money in these things is day trading the equity because I could take advantage of so-and-so. So, you know, you got to come in and design some sort of plan. I mean, that's with anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of people, you know, Lucci, you know more than anybody. We get asked, oh, can you tell us every buy and sell? I mean, everybody out there wants stock picks, and you're not getting anywhere with that because you're not going to be able to tell every single stock pick, even if that guy is really good at what he does. Nice. You know, you're cherry picking, and you could cherry pick only the losers out of his little repertoire there. So you got to really focus on you and incorporate it into a style that suits you best.
Patrick is also saying he's blown huge money and has traded for 5+ years. I mean, bro, like you're also trading with, I mean, I don't know if you were here earlier, but you're also trading with your past behind you. You know what I'm saying? So if you've blown huge money, you're trading, you're actively looking at the market as a way to get back your money. And that unfortunately is the way that everybody looks at it, and that's not the way. That is not the way you want to look at it, because again, you're putting on your expectations to your trades. How many times have you guys gotten so biased on a trade because you've thought in your mind that this was how it was going to work, and you know you gotten heavy into the trade, and in your mind, like it was fine. In your mind, it was going to work, and in your mind, it was going to pay you out everything. And then all of a sudden, like the ticks are showing that it's not going to pay you out, but you do nothing. You just sit in it, right? I mean, that's what trading in the past is. That's what trading in the past looks like, because you've already expected in your head to make X, Y, and Z. And the market is showing you that she ain't going to go there, but you're not listening. You're not listening because only you see only your expectation. You see only what you see. And this is like, you know, this is human condition 101 here. This is why most people, if not all people here, you know, fail at this endeavor. So if we really want to go about this correctly here, guys, you know, we need to look beyond what we're doing. We need to look beyond the traditional emotional situations. We need to look beyond the reading, the trading in the zone. We need to look beyond, you know, being patient, telling yourself you're going to do the right thing the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. We need to look way beyond that, okay? And that's currently what we are working on here at St. Lucci. Monique has a good one. After I spoke with you last, I developed a trading plan. By the way, Monique is definitely a customer of St. Lucci for a while. Has gone through a lot of ups and downs. When I am disciplined, I did well when I watch the screen and deviate from my rules. I get killed. But I am back in it quite consistent for the last 3 months. I am limiting my position to 1% or less than 1% loss per trade. I found my strengths are after-market hours analysis. Monique is saying I preset everything now with less emotional impact. Right. So the focus has to be on what allows you to be at a good emotional state. For me, it's just trading the open, first 30 minutes. And if there's nothing going on, leaving. Anytime I just sit there and sit there and sit there, this is when problems start happening. Overtrading happens as a consequence. So right now, like one of the scripts to my automation is that anytime I trade something more than 3 times, every consecutive time a stop gets hit, this stop tightens up. So let's say I have a 20% stop on a dollar option the first time I get into like Netflix or something, right? And I get stopped out. Then the next time I trade that thing, it's going to be a 10% stop. And the next time it's going to be a 5% stop. And then all of a sudden, I can't fucking trade that thing, okay? And this is just overtrading 101. And this forces you now to only make the positive trades, okay? This only makes me, go for entries that I really want to be in. Half the time we're overtrading is we don't have a plan for the trades we're in. We're just fucking in them. We're just in them. We don't even think about it. We just press a button and get in. I do that so often and rack up, thousands of dollars in losses for nothing, for no reason, So all that stuff needs to stop. And those little things we can stop. It is possible for us to stop officially without having to convince ourselves emotionally or mentally that this is what we need to do every single day. Wes is saying, hey, do you get stopped out on bid price? Wes is saying, is the algo set for bid price? I assume it is. Absolutely. Of course it is. And we can set it for anything. You know what I mean? We can set it for, we can set it for anything. We can even set it against the stock price, So instead of so for swings, for example, the script that I have only goes for stock price because options are freaking crazy on any swing, Anytime you take a swing position, let's say a Netflix, and you go a month out, or even if you trade a weekly or whatever, like who the hell knows what's going to happen overnight? Your shit might be down 50% the next morning off the open. You know what I mean? So if you're going to take a swing trade, you're going to have to baby that position. So I'll tie the swing stops to the actual stock. So if I'm in Netflix at 87, I'll just tell the program, like, listen, if it goes below 85 or something like that, then get me out. And the thing with the program is right now, as it exists, is that I can't fuck with it. I can't exit out of a stop. And that is the huge thing. I can't cancel it. You know what I mean? On any other platform, on anything, you can cancel it. And we often do because we're like, holy shit, I want to stay in this. I'm going to size up. I'm going to do all this crazy stuff. And your emotions hit. And, that stop is long gone. So even if you have stop logic, you as a human, you're going to X out of that shit when you feel like you want to. I don't want to have that ability. So, that part of choice, for me on the risk side and for all of my traders who choose to try this, you can't X out of any stop. You can't. You have to deal with it. There's at no point where you can violate any of these risk rules. Patrick thinks many times so far I've made money 2 ways: put and call selling weekly and accurate chart studying weekly straddles using VWAP, RSI chart study. I'd like to understand the sweepers if they are real time. Of course they're real time, man. Jesus, you want to... real time.
I don't even. That's the only thing.
What is not real time? Like if you offer something that is not real time today in this day and age, like you are a piece of shit.
I mean, even trade sweepers if they weren't real time anyhow. That's what I make a living off of, trading them and then selling them when retail's picking up on it after the fact. So they have to be in real time. But I don't know. He mentioned a couple of things: VWAP, RSI, all that other stuff. I don't know where he lost me at that. But what was the question again?
It wasn't a question. It was just him saying, what he's currently doing right now. That's it. Carlos is saying Steam Room is real time. Jesus Twitter is no. Yeah. So on Jesus regular Twitter. Personal Twitter, that is not real time. So obviously we reserve the real time for our subscribers. Again, hop in the chat room here. Jim is asking, what are sweepers? Let's take that question here. What the hell is a sweeper here, Jesus?
In simple English, you can get the detailed version, which is fine, and we could touch on that at a different time. But in simple English, it's and a professional who's putting in an aggressive order. Okay, so it's an aggressive buyer, that an order that stresses urgency of the fill more than the fill price per se. Okay, somebody wants to get in that trade and wants to do it now. He's not concerned about what price he gets filled or how many contracts. He wants to get as much as he can at that offer price to get in that trade now. That's basically the simple English version of sweepers.
Indeed, indeed. And by the way, we just launched a course too for this stuff, and you know, we'll talk about that soon. I don't think we have a sales link yet for it, but again, stick around. It'll be on the Twitter and everywhere as well. We do have a course that explains how to trade a lot of this flow, a lot of examples, you know, swing examples and all that kind of stuff as well. I think it's like $3.99 or something like that.
I think it might be on the products thing up there. I think
okay.
that's new.
On this one? Maybe.
Yeah, see products?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there it is. Look at that. I think they just threw it up.
Yeah, so we are doing a little promo here for this one. So again, it's just a quick course that includes a lot actually, as far as you know, platform setups, you know, what is a sweep, what is the type of orders that some of these advanced players use, you know, how these guys hop into the market, how they play the market. And a lot of these videos are just me and Jesus talking back and forth about what these things actually mean. Spread orders that come into, Jesus will pick up a lot of cool spread orders that we can use for you know, just as well as we use the sweep orders. Sentiment, how to read the sentiment, how to look at the indexes, how to look at the flow on the indexes to adjust, you know, whether you want to be bullish or bearish. And then we just have a ton of examples. And we're also going to do live examples for everybody. So everybody's going to get live examples for this. So we'll do once a week, me and Jesus, for live swing examples as well as day trading examples. There's trading psychology stuff in there. You get a month free of the Steam Room as well. So screw it here. Why don't I just throw out?
And you and I both discuss in detail, showing some examples of how we both trade differently in a sense, but off the same information, and how we both use it and what we're looking for. You talking more on the option end, where I'm talking more on the equity end. So it gives both examples, two different versions of how we both are using the same information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the best parts, I think, for this whole thing. And by the way, that's going to be live and continuous. And, you know, members that buy this, you're going to have access to those live recordings here going forward. So anything new that we do here, you'll get access to. And then you'll get a lot of the content that we used to do for all our previous courses. We just kind of just shoved this in here as well. You know, brokerage stuff. You know, this actually is a consultation here that you can call us. We can talk to you about, you know, if you want to automate your trade, taxes and shit like that, you need to talk about what brokerage you should go with, and then also a lot of the psychology stuff we talked about in the methodology course, which I used to sell at a much higher price point. We're giving a lot of it at a pretty steep discount here. So check it out. Hopefully we'll see you guys in the Steam Room here. If not here, have a great weekend, Memorial Day weekend. No trading here on Monday. Hopefully we see you guys in the room on Tuesday here. Jesus, thanks for coming out, man.
Same here. Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming, everybody. Enjoy the weekend.